Hello there, it's Jackie here. When I was thinking about how I wanted to come and meet with you and what I wanted to speak with you about for the end of the year, I kept coming back to this thought of knowing that probably one of the best things that I could do would be to facilitate a group session. And that if you wanted to participate in that, then you absolutely could. So I'm going to do that. I have no idea what's going to come up. I'm not setting an agenda other than my own awareness of what the year has been like for many people, what the theme of the year has been like, and the knowing that we're moving into 2024. So it doesn't matter if you have worked with me or not, you can still participate and receive the session. It doesn't matter whether you understand what I'm doing or you don't. You can still participate in and receive the session, and it will work absolutely wonders for you because it is consciousness-based whole health care. We're working on all levels of consciousness, okay? So that's really the agenda that I'm coming with. You can always go to the website, JacquieMcIntyre.com, if you're not familiar with me or anything that I do, and check out a better information there before you watch the session, but you don't have to. That's not a deal breaker, all right? This is really just the best way that I intuitively felt that I could be of service to you at this point in time. It's been a challenging year for majority of people in many, many different ways, but a necessary challenging year because it's through those challenges that people have really found themselves and really found out who they are and what they're capable of, and they've been able to find ways to tap into their personal power. That is brilliant. It has also been a year where those challenges and struggles have started to highlight or contributed, so highlighted health issues or contributed to health issues. So sometimes the work that we are doing, not just in one-on-one sessions, but in these group sessions, can be so powerful that it can really shift certain health issues that you're going through, struggles that you're having, whether it be personal struggles, relationship struggles, struggles with any area of your life. So before we dive into this, if you want to just pause the video and just have a reflect on your year, have a reflect on where you are right now and what you would hope to see change, what you would like to see change within you or in the world around you, okay? And spend a moment really connecting in with that, engaging as much of your five senses as you can. So really see it. See what your intention is, what you would like to see change, or what you would like to see focus on for yourself. Hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it as much as you can. Every single thing, and it might sound weird, but everything has a sensory component to it. So you absolutely can connect in with something and get a sense of what does that taste like? What does that sound like? What does it feel like through your subtle sense of touch? And that will help contribute to what the priorities are. They're going to come up as part of this group session. So as a refresher, it is your own innate wisdom. Everyone's collectively joins together. This is the beauty of consciousness work. It's everybody's innate wisdom that collectively comes together that then determines what the priorities are that are going to come up into this session. Okay. And it's my own innate wisdom and my own structured intuition that receives that information, listens to it, and then goes through and brings it up for you, facilitates a session for you. So I will talk my way through it as we go through. Let's just jump in and do this. There's nothing else that's really coming up for me that I want to talk to you about. If you want to start by taking some nice big deep breaths, really imagine yourself grounded into the present moment. I'm going to go ahead and do the same. I'm going to take a few nice big deep breaths. One of the best ways to ground yourself for a process like this is to just close your eyes, nice big deep breaths. Bring your awareness from, it's usually up in the head space, because that's where majority of people usually live, from the head space. But bring your awareness, just follow it all the way down. Bring your awareness into your heart. It's like coming and sitting inside your heart, so you become your heart. And you can additionally imagine like you're a mighty big oak tree, or some big, big, big tree that you really resonate with, and really feel the strength of you being that tree. And be aware of all the roots that you send down into the ground, particularly that really big taproot. And in your mind's eye, follow and imagine that taproot going all the way down into the earth. And it might anchor into something. It might anchor into a structure of the earth, or a rock, or a crystal, or some formation that anchors you as the tree and grounds you as the tree. All right. So I might jot down some notes as we go through, in case I need to remember these priorities that come up as we move forward. Let's go ahead and see what the priorities are for you. So my focus is on the end of the year and the start of a new year, the year that's just been and the year that is before us. That's what my focus is. The very first thing that's coming up as a priority is a very specific formula that primarily looks at the nervous system and the head brain, and works to, for want of a better word, defrag the nervous system. And we're looking at stress that has been experienced over the year. We want to defrag the stress to the best of our ability. We're looking at all the stress that you've experienced. It doesn't matter what it's in relation to, or how it's come about, or how much of it there was. It doesn't matter. We're just looking at stress as an experience, as information that has come in through all of your systems, but mostly shows up in the nervous system, in the integumentary system, in your immune system, in the microbiome, and in the head brain. There are a few systems out of the many, many, many ones that you have where this stress really shows up a little bit more than it does in other areas. So what your innate wisdom is wanting to do is run a very specific technique called a defrag, so that we can, your own innate wisdom can really find, it's like doing a search and retrieve, finding all the stress that is coming to the system, how it sits in there, how it affects the system, and start to break it down and fragment it, pushing it into the alimentary systems. So there will be some type of cleansing, releasing that happens as a consequence from this. That can look very different for a lot of different people. Sometimes you can need to go to the toilet more. You might need to wee more. You might, the bowels might open up and you go do number twos more. And that can, depending on the way that your body's going to process this, that can be a little or it can be a lot. And it usually is just over the next 12 to 24 hours. Sometimes it shows up a little bit later, just depending on what's going on for you and how your body's set up to work right now. But I just wanted to give you a heads up about that. because your own innate wisdom finds the best way possible for this stress to release out of the body. One of the ways that it does that is by going down and out through the excretory systems, as I said. The body can also find ways to move it through using forceful energy, such as sneezing or coughing or doing big sighs of relief using the diaphragm. And other ways that it can come up is through up through the lungs and up through the voice. So you might cry, and for seemingly no reason at all. Sometimes connecting with water can be a very big trigger for that stress releasing that way out through crying. It can be when you get in a shower or you're washing your hands. So just want you to be aware of that. There's nothing wrong. It's just a very normal way for the body to process this. And it's usually the more you can lean into it and just allow it to happen, whatever way that your body chooses to process it, the more complete that healing process will be, and the shorter the time it will need to run for. The more you resist it, the more you try to stop the process, either the longer the process is going to run for, or it will be an incomplete process. So it's a really good lesson in just leaning in and letting the body do what it needs to do, because it knows the best way to do it. So there's no further details to that. So literally that's our first kind of formula that we're working with. We're going to pop that to the side. We don't need to do another parallel formula. And I might just say it's so important to defrag that stress. Is I don't think we talk about it enough, what happens when we carry that forward and we don't find ways to release it, or the body-mind complex can't find ways to release it, is that it turns into disease processes, and it turns into anxiety, and it turns into depression, and it can turn into a lot of different things, again, depending on who you are and your unique story. But it doesn't contribute to you in a healthy way at all. It compromises communication and kicks disease off. So it's really important that it seems simple on the surface, but it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So maybe that can be something that you really consider moving forward into a new year, is how can I find ways to really work through and release just stress and tension that happens to me or in the world around me, with the knowing that you just really don't want to carry it forward and you want to help the body release it. Okay, so let's move forward and see what we need to do in the next formula. So we're actually focusing on the head brain. We have 3 brains, by the way: head brain, heart brain, etheric brain. A lot of people call it the gut brain. So we're focusing on the head brain. We're going to be focusing on a very specific area of that. And we're going to be focusing on an area known as the hippocampus. It has a lot to do with short-term memory and converting short-term memory into long-term memory, remembering unique details and factors, things like that. And very strongly links into your sensory system. So the left hemisphere is connected into your auditory processing, right hemisphere is connected into your visual processing. And this is an area of the brain that can really get affected by stress, by lots of different factors. a gigantic list I won't go into, but there's a lot that can affect the functioning of the hippocampus, where it just becomes not a very happy chappy and affects its function, affects its consciousness expression. Yeah. And again, this kind of feels like we're looking at the effects of a stressful year or a stressful few years, really, and the effects that that's had on the brain and the nervous system. So we're going to be focusing on all the different cells that make up the hippocampus. And it's really a cellular repair. We're repairing deep down into the cell, including any particular focus into the DNA or RNA that needs to make adjustments or repair itself here. There's just something that's coming up here as a consequence of this formula running through. Is for some of you, it might make you feel a little bit sleepy. And that's usually going to occur within about the next 8 hours after listening to this session. So if you're watching it in the early morning, then you could get quite tired during the day, or might want to go to bed a lot earlier than you normally do. Again, there's nothing wrong. It's just the way the body's processing that. So we have a cellular repair on the hippocampus. This, and your innate wisdom's placing a lot of emphasis on memory retention. There's something about how important it is, not just from the perspective of that you remember names or faces or phone numbers or dates or whatever that is, but there has to be an internal memory process, an innate internal memory process. And that's critically important for all functions to run, for all repair processes to happen, for every part of the body to know and remember what it is and how it functions and why it functions in that way. So this is also addressing memory, maybe on levels and for things that you're not so aware of. Okay. No further details to that. We need to go and implement these two formulas that we've done. That basically is our way of saying we're going to take the information that we've got and we're going to kickstart this repair and healing process through the body. There's a very simple tapping process that we do, and it's by engaging each one of the three brains. Each one of the three brains is very unique in the body-mind complex, and the role that it plays in this repair and healing process is really quite extraordinary. So what we're going to do is do light tapping. Some of you will already be familiar with this. I'm going to use myself as a surrogate, and I'll do the tapping on myself along with you. I'm going to get you to do the tapping on yourself as well. It's really important. So if you can do that, great. If you have an injury that prevents you from doing that, don't worry about it. Close your eyes and imagine that you are tapping this session out on yourself. When you tap on the top of the head brain, you need to use a nice wide open hand, and you're making sure that when you're doing very light tapping, that you're connecting with both the left and the right side of the brain at the same time. And that's basically so that we grab the whole brain's attention, we wake it all up and bring its attention to the information that's just come up as part of the session. We tap over the heart brain, which is just left of your sternum. And the heart brain acts like the mainframe computer, and it stores all the information that's coming up in the session so that it retains it and it becomes the new way that things work moving forward. It replaces the old ways that things were functioning. into the new patterns and the new ways that things need to function. And you're going to tap over the gut brain, which is about an inch above the belly button and in the area of the intestines and stomach. And the gut brain helps to discern the information. There's a lot of information behind the scenes of what we haven't talked about. So the gut brain really helps to chew through the sheer amount of information that your body needs to process. And it helps discern what happens now, what happens later. It's really quite an incredible function that your gut brain does. So we're going to do nice big deep breathing. And as you're doing the deep breathing, you're going to alternate the tapping over the three brains as it just feels best for you instinctively. So there's no rhyme or rhythm to how else you need to do it other than what I've mentioned, okay? So let's go ahead, start with a couple of nice big deep breaths. And we're going to start by doing just some light tapping. And we'll alternate the tapping so that we're connecting with all three brains at some point in time. And if you feel like you need to tap slow, then do that. If you feel like you need to tap at a certain rhythm, do that. If you need to speed up and do it at a different pace, do that. It really is a big lesson in trusting your own intuition in this process, because it's always right. Okay, rest and relax. We do have something else that's coming up that we need to do. We're actually balancing the cortices of the brain. So this is a brain balancing technique for the head brain. It is at this time of the year that sometimes it can get a little bit hectic and it can get a little bit stressful, depending on what you've got going on. And what's coming up is that there's, I just mentioned to somebody yesterday that it's quite an interesting word, isn't it? Discombobulation. That's a word that's coming up here, is that when we look at the cortices of the brain, all the different regions of the brain, it's almost like there's some discombobulation. So it shows that, yes, it is stress, but it's also everything that you've had to navigate this year, everything you've had to contend with, everything that you've had to make decisions on, everything that has come your way and you've needed to observe or interact with. It's all of that. And it just shows a brain that when it comes to the head brain, the true design, the natural consciousness function of the head brain is that you have two beautifully balanced hemispheres, a left and right hemisphere of the head brain, and that the communication between those hemispheres is effortless and accurate in its timing and its communication, and that all regions of the brain can communicate with all regions of the brain. That's a healthy, happy brain. Really good circulation, really good flow of all different types of circulation and energy. And I was just going to say, circulation of consciousness supply and circulation of meridian energy and neurons and protons and solitons and all those wonderful things. That makes for a really healthy, happy brain when everything is functional, peaceful, harmonized, and there's great communication and balance. That's not necessarily how the head brain is showing up right now. The word that keeps coming up is it's a bit discombobulated. And I think if I was to talk to some of you one-on-one, you would say, yeah, it kind of does feel like that. So this is just a massive support for the head brain. You know, the primary function of the head brain is to run this physical body, is to oversee its functions and to help make sure that everything is functioning the way that it's meant to be. So much is lobbed onto that head brain and that it's expected to do, which is above and beyond what it's actually naturally designed to do. So we've got an overtaxed head brain that's struggling with overfunction, essentially. So this technique that we're going to do is called cortices, and we're doing the cortices technique from a perspective of needing to run a bit of a rehabilitation process for the head brain, so the head brain can come back into more of its truer natural function, so that it then can help the body function better, more naturally, as it's intended to as well. There's no further details to that. We're going to tap this in, and we're going to tap it in by actually doing the cortices technique. So I'm going to, I feel my nervous system is running quite high, so I always get a little bit itchy when I'm doing sessions sometimes, especially group sessions, because there's so many of you. So I'm going to walk us through doing the cortices technique. You can just follow my hand placements. You're going to have one hand that connects to the outside of the head brain. Your hand or fingers need to be closed. We don't want them splayed apart like this. So you're going to place a hand right at the base of the skull, and with your other hand you're going to do light tapping across the top of your head brain, heart brain, gut brain. So we're focusing on all regions of the brain, being able to easily and effortlessly communicate with all regions of the brain. We're going to move our hand up one hand position, and we're going to tap this in. Nice big deep breath. We can literally hear in our mind's eye all the cells of the brain literally waking up, turning on, being able to communicate with all other cells of the brain. In our mind's eye, we can actually see, we can imagine circulation improving. You need to keep moving your hand forward, one hand position. So I think I missed one then. You may have missed it. So just catch up if you can. So we're visualizing circulation improving, pardon me, all the way around to the front. Circulation of nerve supply, blood supply, lymph supply, hydration, meridian energy, nadi energy, protons, electrons, atoms, solitons. So you're connecting in with the temporal lobes like this. They run front to back, the hands. And then you can take both hands away and you can tap that in. Okay, rest and relax. And that is all that we need to do today for our group session. And Nate is not bringing up any other priorities. There is also no homework that's coming up as a priority. So sometimes after a session, a Nate will actually, you're a Nate, everyone's collective a Nate, will bring up something that I need to mention, something that you can focus on or do after the session that would help you, or something that I could potentially do for you and help you additionally to the session. But there's nothing that's coming up now as a priority. Everything that I needed to make you aware of so that you keep an eye out for it, maybe I've already gone through that and provided that. What I do want to mention is that if you really have some more specific focuses for yourself, then maybe a one-on-one session for yourself would actually be better. to actually work through some finer details of what's going on for you, whether they be related to your health or whether it be related to some aspect of your life or relationships or wealth and money or career or whatever it is, okay? There's a lot of information on my website about what I can help you with and who I work with. So I'll leave that for you to work through. If you have any questions, comments, queries, concerns about anything that came up in the session, please pop it into the comments or send it in as an email to the office, info@jacquiemcintyre.com. I am taking a 10-day break, Yahoo. So I might be a little bit slow to respond to some of those comments, but just know that I absolutely will get back to them. So keep them coming in. And I just wanted to wish you all the best for the end of the year, however you celebrate that. And I hope that you can just find ways to experience as much joy and love as you possibly can. And I really, really am pumped and excited for what 2024 is going to bring us, because I think it's going to be an exceptional year that provides us individually and collectively with the opportunity for growth, really profound growth. Like it's almost like the feeling I get is, if you think that you have grown in the last 3 years, I think next year is going to supersede that in the most spectacular ways possible. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like and all the amazing opportunities that are going to come from that, and our opportunities to be able to connect and support each other in community a lot more. All right. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll see you really soon. Bye for now.